Tonight's relationship story is one of those situations that reminds you how quickly a good deal can turn into a nightmare. How a handshake agreement can become a trap, and how a person you barely know might be studying you far more closely than you ever imagined. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Greg Stewart Show. Before we get started, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever chose a living environment where it wasn't exactly safe, where you sensed danger? Because that's what this story is about. It's about a person who moves into a room in someone's home, and from that point there, they want to be closer to their boyfriend who is a mile down the road, only to find out that the person is a potential deviant. Now, you'll find out for sure. Is he or is he not a threat, or is it in Pamela's head? But before you go there, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Now on with the story. This relationship story is one of those situations that reminds you how quickly a good deal can turn into a nightmare. How a handshake agreement can become a trap, and how a person you barely know might be studying you far more closely than you ever imagined. This is the story of Pamela. She's 22 years old, very independent, beautiful. In fact, people said if you wanted to know what Pamela looked like, she was the splitting image of a younger Raquel Welch. And all she wanted was just a little space of her own. But what she didn't know was that the man renting that space was watching her, studying her, and waiting for the moment she'd be alone. This is the story of Pamela, Al, and the room she should have never rented. So how did it all begin for Pamela? You see, Pamela wasn't looking for anything complicated. She loved her boyfriend, Ray, but she wasn't ready to move in with him. She liked her independence, her own space, her own routine. So when she found a room for rent just 1 mile from Ray's place, it felt perfect. The owner was a man named Al. Al is 46 years old, comes off very quiet, very polite, and soft-spoken. In fact, he told her, "I live a very private life. I respect people's privacy, but I don't allow guests. Now, if that's understood, you can stay here as long as you want. I only charge $350 a month, and that includes all your utilities." Pamela thought she hit the jackpot. No contract, no drama, just a handshake. And so she moved in the next day. And for a while, everything seemed normal. You see, Pamela, she worked a day shift. She'd leave early in the morning and she'd get home around 5 p.m. Sometimes she'd stop by Ray's place for a few hours before heading back to her room. But after a few months, she started noticing things, such as her dresser drawers. They began to look disturbed. They wasn't messy, not ransacked, just you know your stuff, and you know when something has been touched. Clothes slightly shifted, items not exactly where she left them. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she was rushing in the morning. But then Al started acting a bit different. He'd ask if she wanted to hang out, have dinner, watch some television. Pamela always politely declined. Just wasn't interested. She didn't want to also blur the boundaries and leave anything to consequence. Didn't want to lead on. But Al didn't take the hint. One evening, Pamela was walking around the complex with Ray, not going inside, just as requested, just walking outside, when Al confronted her. Now, his voice wasn't soft anymore. In fact, it was sharp, very cold. He approached her and he said, "Pamela, a word." "Yes, Al." "I told you, no guest." Pamela apologized, explaining she thought he meant inside the condo. Al snapped, "No, I meant everything in reference to the environment." Now, that sentence alone tells you everything you need to know about Al. You see, this is a man who doesn't just want privacy. He wants control. He wants ownership of the space and the people in it. Now, if you think about it, that's not necessarily a boundary. In fact, it's not at all. But what it is a red flag. So Pamela agreed to stop bringing Ray around. But inside, she felt something. Something shifted. Al wasn't just strict. He was jealous, possessive. I get the idea that he's watching me. And as the days and weeks would go by, the drawers kept moving. The clothing was shifted. Pamela, after work, told Ray everything. The weird behavior, the shifting of the clothes, and the sudden anger. Ray didn't like it. "Pam, this is shady. You don't want to move in with me. I get that. But this guy, something's off." So they came up with a plan. Pamela would take a sick day from work, but she would also pretend to go to work, get dressed, and leave like normal. Then sneak back in and hide. If Al was messing with her room, they would catch him. So Pamela dressed for work, grabbed her bag, left the condo, and drove off. Then she parked in a secluded corner of the complex and waited. She watched Al leave for his usual morning routine, a roll and coffee. The moment he was gone, she slipped back inside, locked her bedroom door, and hid in the closet. Her heart was already pounding, but she had no idea how bad it was about to get. Bam, bam, bam. The noise from downstairs. Pamela heard the front door open. Al was home. His footsteps were slow, but purposeful, like he was listening around. Then, the sound she feared. He came up the stairs because her room was on the second floor, and she heard her doorknob rattle. He tried it once, and then twice, and then silence. Then the sound of keys. Pamela covered her mouth. Her breath was rapid. Her heart was slamming against her ribs. The door unlocked. Al walked in. Pamela watched through the slates of the closet door. He went straight to her dresser, opened the top drawer, lifted her clothes to his face, smelling them, and then he did things so vulgar, so violating that Pamela felt sick watching it. You could only imagine. You see, this wasn't curiosity. This wasn't loneliness. This was obsession. This was a predator. This is the behavior of a man who has built a fantasy in his mind. A man who believes he has access to someone who never gave consent. A man who feels entitled to her space, her belongings, and her body. After all, in his mind, this is my home. This is my home. I make the rules, and you live by them. And then, all of a sudden, Al started looking at the closet door. He turned towards it and slowly, step by step, walked towards it. Pamela's entire body froze. The closet door opened. Al's face twisted. Shock, anger, fear, all at once. He said, "What are you doing here?" Pamela stepped out. "What am I doing here? What the hell are you doing in my room? I saw everything. Everything." Al panicked. "Pamela, I'm sorry. I love you. Please don't leave." He tried to block the door. Pamela's voice was shaking. "Move or I'll scream." He stepped aside. Pamela ran. She went straight to Ray, told him everything. Ray wanted to call the police. But Pamela knew. No contract, no cameras, no proof except my word, she said. Al would deny everything. So they did the only thing they could. They moved her out fast, quiet, and all in one night. Pamela left that condo behind, but the fear stayed with her. Every morning on her way to work, she had to drive past the complex, and every time her stomach twisted because she knew what she saw, and she knew what could have happened. And then she saw something that made her blood run cold. Just where she found the ad, room for rent, affordable. Al was looking for his next victim. So let's break down Al's behavior, because this is not a man who crossed the line. This is a man who planned, in the most subtle and discreet ways, to try to build trust and confidence with his very mild demeanor. He chose young women. He offered a deal that was too good to refuse. He set strict rules to isolate her. He monitored her movements, and then he became jealous of her boyfriend. He repeatedly entered her room, and he escalated to sexual violation. And when caught, he professed love. This, for all who are wondering in their own world, is the textbook predatory behavior. This is a man who creates an environment where he has control, access, privacy, power, a fantasy he believes is real. And when that fantasy is threatened, he becomes unpredictable. Pamela didn't just escape a bad landlord. She escaped a man who was building a delusion around her. And the scariest part, he's still renting rooms. Pamela survived because she trusted her instincts, because she listened to the small signs, because she didn't ignore the feeling in her gut, and because she had someone, Ray, who believed her. But not everyone gets that lucky. So if you're listening to this and you're living somewhere that doesn't feel right, where someone's behavior feels off, where boundaries are being crossed, don't wait for proof. Don't think what a great deal this is. Don't justify things when the red flags come. Don't wait for that big moment, and don't wait for the closet door to open. Your instincts are evidence. Pamela's story is a warning, a reminder, a call to pay attention. Because sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who smile, offer you a cheap room, and tell you they respect privacy. Thank you for listening to tonight's episode. If Pamela's story hit you hard, you're not alone. Stories like this remind us how important it is to trust ourselves and to recognize danger even when it's disguised as kindness. Stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next episode. Also, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. Thank you. Pamela's story is a tragedy that, thank goodness, didn't end worse than it could have. And again, thank goodness that she had the support in reference to Ray, her boyfriend. But some of us don't. Some of us take a good deal and say, hey, this is exactly what I need. This is going to help me live, survive, or even prepare for my future. Al said and did everything that would disguise his mask. So how do you find out through red flags when a deal is just too good to be true? Get references, because sometimes it doesn't show itself right away. These predators know exactly how to make you feel good. Again, the lower the tone, the more control shows that there could be a monster hiding under that mask. If you look at anyone that commits crimes of vulgar or sexual violation, this is the grooming pattern that they do. They keep themselves under the radar. You can trust them. You feel safe. And then all of a sudden, the red flags, which eventually, if Pamela didn't catch it when she did, it was slowly evolving. It was slowly evolving. So reach out, get references. The one thing that Elon Musk said, totally different subject, but whenever he talks to someone with the possibility of an interview, he asks them, tell me a little bit about your experience of your last job. Well, the same thing I think goes here. Tell me a little bit about the experience of the last people that lived here. Look on blogs, put in Al's name, who rented at Al, this, that, whatever it takes to find out. I mean, this guy wanted no contract. Amount that was a dream come true, especially in this day and age. And then all of a sudden you've seen the red flags of dinner, no guest allowed. I mean, all of these things are just shady. So let that be the voice of reason in your mind when it comes to red flags. So I hope this was helpful for you. And until next time, we'll see you. Have a great day or evening wherever you are.